Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Aquarius Rising Africa. Magical, mythical, marvelous, magnificent Monday with our lovely Bryce. Hello, Morné. Hello, Bryce. How is
Hey,
everybody?
So good.
Yeah.
I was telling you guys before to the audience watching, if I get bopped off, I'll bop right back in again. My internet is very unstable right now, so there's no
Yeah.
shenanigans happening. It's literally the rumors that get started. It's literally an unstable internet. So if that happens, I will bop right back in.
Well, I have to say, internet all over seems to be bopping in and out. I mean, everyone knows how much lovely, delightful internet issues we've had here. But I must say, it seems to be on the mend and improve. So let's hope and hope and hope. And yeah, really good to see you again, Bryce. And gosh, what a week! Cray times, everybody. Wow, wow, wow. So I really feel like the energies are completely intensifying majorly at the moment. There's a lot of hopping and bopping around all over, not just the internet. I think the internet might be a manifestation of what's hopping and bopping about in the ethos. But anyway, we are here and still we haven't quite fallen and we won't fall. But yeah, I think the surf is getting very choppy out there. So buckle up, buttercup. I think that was one of the hashtags. Morné, please remind us that's our hashtag, buckle up, buttercup. Because it really is time to buckle up, buttercup. But it's wonderful that we're all in our little dinghies together, floating the stormy sea. It's a beautiful time indeed, exciting, and requires us to really pull out all the stops and let go of our bullshit. And I got to tell you, we just finished the first week of 36
I was
Surya
about to
Namaskar.
say, yes.
It was amazing. And I got to tell you, I'm loving it. I'm loving the energy of the people in the group. We have a guy, and I got to tell you, Stephen, I'm mentioning you by name, one boy that's doing the challenge with us. And he's never done yoga before. And he has started and just like done the first week of 36 challenges. And it's beautiful to hear everybody's story and how they're battling through it and enjoying it, getting stronger, realizing things. And, some people are really challenged. Other people are taking it a lot easier. So today is our break day. Today is our off day. Gosh, I was relieved for this off day, I got to tell you.
It's a moon day, which in traditional yoga we don't practice on moon days anyway. So how serendipitous was that anyway?
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, with that.
absolutely. So tomorrow we gear up for a 72.
Oh, you guys got this. I love it though. This challenge, the 60-day challenge compared to the 30-day challenge, we have a lot more men participating in the 60-day challenge than we did in the 30-day challenge, and I'm loving it. I'm loving having the men doing it. Obviously, the sun salutation challenge comes within the 60-day challenge. Like, I just think it's fantastic that all these men are jumping in and in the support groups, and that just I think for before this great awakening, whatever you want to call it, I think men we've talked about this, have been so conditioned to like be macho and not show emotion in the shadow work challenge, sun salutations, all that stuff is going to pull that up out of you to heal it. And so the fact that more and more men are starting to take these opportunities to heal themselves, that's amazing.
Absolutely. It really is amazing. And I have to say, even I'm just looking in our chats, it's like Hannah from Sweden, always hello Courtney from Colorado, Beck from Texas, Thea, of course, our lovely Thea from South Africa, Eva from Norway. It's just beautiful to see just everyone connecting from around the world. And whether we're doing Surya Namaskar challenges or 60-day shadow work challenges, what I'm finding so beautiful is that this community is finding each other, and this is always, and in fact, we were chatting this morning with Morné and Thea, and we were saying, when we started Aquarius Rising Africa, it really was exposing this horrific underbelly. So a lot of sensationalism and who was doing what and gosh, all of that stuff. And then I just said, you know, you've got to bring in that calm space with solutions, with the healing. And that's kind of like where we're at now as well. You know, there's so many people coming up like, and I will always, and I want to say, if you guys haven't watched Alice Parola, our videos with Alice Parola, we did 3 interviews with her. Borderline personality disorder. We're speaking, you know, mental disorders, also from childhood abuse. Her daughter spoke, her husband spoke, how they've, you know, each one had their own interview with her. And just the family healing, how to heal, how to draw together as a unit, as a family unit, because especially with mental conditions, we are labeled so badly. It's fine to have cancer or anything, and then everyone embraces you, even if you've been smoking for 50 years, you know what I'm saying? But wow, say you've got any type of mental disorder and then you're kind of shunned. And that needs to change. And I really believe Alice is a forerunner in exposing that. And her daughter, Nikki, and her husband, Joe. And I'm going to have them all on again to talk about this. But these are really important topics, you know, to normalize them, to speak about them. And, you know, so that's kind of like where I just feel we're all going. So whatever the challenge is bringing up, whether it's that, whether it's bringing it up in the yoga, because with the yoga, you better believe it's going to bring it up. The breathing, the stretching, the moving, the focusing. Oh my goodness, think about your breath, because remember your body is connected to nature. Your breath is air, it's the wind. You're breathing, you're releasing. What does wind do? It blows blockages and, you know, garbage, whatever away. It's going to blow things, but you can also see what's happening. So it releases things and things come unstuck. And, you know, that's why we're saying this week as well, just to look where you're feeling uncomfortable, what's coming up, what do you need to do more of and less of. That's been what this week has been about. And I'm finding it so rewarding just working with a group of people who are really just, and I've got to say, it's my pilot project. I've never done this before, you know, and it's so wonderful just to see people who are enjoying what it's bringing up in them. And I'll definitely be doing it again in the future, although the video is out there now, but where we actually do it as a group, because I really think it's so beneficial. But anyway, Bryce, that is my 10 cents worth.
Well, the yoga is designed, it literally was designed specifically for that. It was an exercise that was designed specifically to pull stuff up out of you for you to work on. So you couldn't ask for a better modality to really give you that, and the breath, yeah, it blows, but also, you know, I tell students, like, the inhale is what gives power too. Like when you're going up into a handstand, you're not going to be able to lift up on an exhale. You got to lift up on an inhale, you know, and exactly. So you learn the power that's within you too through that. So it's a beautiful thing. So, indeed.
So, moving right along, because I know you and I could both talk about this.
I know. Tablet what? Like, you know.
Tablet 4, part 2: How not to be an asshole. Oh dear, has Bryce frozen up?
Yes.
No, Bryce, not now. Okay. There she is. You froze up for all of half a minute.
I know. I was like, oh damn! I can see the spinny thing. I'm like, oh, these construction workers are going to be the death of me. Like
the wheel of horror, isn't that? It's like when you see this wheel of horror in front of your very eyes, like spinning around. Like, oh my gosh.
I mean, these freaking, talk about needing some yoga after these construction workers. I mean, I always say in my videos now, if you hear banging, it's not a demon, it's literally a construction worker. That's just...
Which probably is a demon right now.
Yeah. I'm like, you know, they're literally tore down 2 restaurants in our building, 2 high rise. It's wild. It's crazy. It's like
wow.
my window. So.
Well, let's hope this space for the next hour gives you a little bit of peace and serenity, that there's not too many disturbances. So, yeah, looking forward to hearing about, part 2 of tablet number 4.
Yeah, so I guess we'll go ahead and jump into it. We started it last week, and this is again part tablet 4 is called the Spaceborn, and it's literally going back to thought, because tablet 1 and tablet 2 are kind of the who, what, where, when, why, how, like who is Thoth, where did he come from, why did he write these tablets. Tablet 3 was the how not to be an asshole tablet, where Thoth was teaching us how to be good people, basically. And then tablet 4, we're going back to Thoth's story now about how he conquered his own self, how he broke free of bondage. And so we're going to be starting with the verse that says, long time. I'm going to go back because last week we didn't get to look at some of Doriel's.
Hello.
Hello?
Doriel's, yes, she was saying. Last week, some of Doriel's.
So if you are in a country where it's in the evening right now or afternoon, if you are a drinker, I'm going to make this a drinking game. Every time I get bopped off of the internet, or you can take a shot.
Take a shot.
Take a shot. We'll see. This might be a real fun episode for some people. So it is only 9:22 in the morning here on the East Coast, so I would not suggest that for people who are just starting your day. But, you know, just to make light of a sticky situation I'm in with the construction workers. So we're going back to some of Doriel's commentary. And if you guys remember, Thoth really spoke about how we as the creators of our worlds knew we were whole when we decided to create the hologram of planets and bodies and separate ourselves from the whole so that we would experience separateness and go back into the world of bondage so that we could refine ourselves even more. And so that in itself, I believe, and that's in the Law of One uses the word refining of the soul. And I think that puts a lot of power in your hands when you start to understand that your soul actually, you created this to refine yourself.
Isn't this really, you know, when we go back to sort of understanding, you know, everything in life, every experience that we experience. Well, before I say that, let me say life is spiritual. We are not human beings trying to be spiritual. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. So we so often get caught up in the bondage and of the physical world, the material, the possessions, the money, the power, you know, fear of death. Because think about it. Look how the human psyche will hold on to life at all cost, right? It's going to try and evade and avoid death at all cost, right? When we just look at how we fear dying, most of us, right? So it really is kind of back to front, because if we really, I think, understood the truth, we would go, wow, I can't wait to go, you know, like, oh, hurry up life, you know, kind of make it all triple speed. So it's really about just understanding we are spiritual beings having a human experience. We come here because this is the density and vibration in which we can operate in and exactly have this body. Nowhere else do we get to have this body. And it's truly not the most unevolved planet. We are really at our most evolved here because we've never reached these points in our existence before. We've reached snippets here, snippets there, snippets there. But the whole coming together, the pulling it together, everything, keeping what we need, discarding with that which we don't need. And it's not even discarding. I want to just change that because therein lies the trick. Therein lies the key. Transmuting, because energy can never be created or destroyed, only ever transferred or transformed. So we can't discard that which we don't need or we think or snip a cord, right? We have to understand why that cord held us bondage to begin with. So we have to understand how we tripped ourselves up to get into that place of bondage to begin with. And then we can undo the process, flip it upside down, as we always say, you know, unplat, unknot. So it's that part that it really, when we get there and we understand that we are really spiritual beings, we know it all, we have every answer within us, and all we have to do is just access that within.
Yes, absolutely.
That, Chantelle, you reminded me of a saying that I love so much. I am that I am, but I'm also that which I am not. For that which is what I'm not taught me that which I am.
You are.
So,
Exactly.
yeah, so you can't discard stuff because those things actually you became, and then you realize, oh, but this is not for me. So they taught you what it is for you and what it means to be you, so that it becomes part of you, but just in a different form.
Yeah.
So I love that.
And that's exactly what Thoth is saying. Like, you hold the power because you created this. Not in the sense like you created this, but no, like we collectively as souls created this experience so that we could refine ourselves. And I love what you just said. I'm going to read from Doriel's commentary that we didn't get to last week, where he says, the solvings of the mysteries of space gives the cause behind the many manifestations of law, which otherwise could not be understood. So what Morné just said, otherwise that could not be understood. You cannot know light unless you know darkness, right? You cannot know what you aren't unless you know what you are, right? The Thoth now knew that he could endlessly explore the gem of truth until at last he might pass into the cosmic cycle beyond this. Thoth was, and I underline this, Thoth was free because he now knew that the truth is limitless. And now through eternity, he could pursue knowledge. Man is not truly of the earth or material, but in the final analysis is the divine fire itself. Thoth gives the key to the freedom of consciousness from the material world, and this freedom opens the path to other worlds and planes. When this is once attained, man is no longer bound, but free. Only through knowledge comes the ability to rise from the earthly body and become one with the light.
That is so because it's so alchemy 101, and not 101, but it's like we talk about the divine fire, right? Being God, it's the sun, and that's what all divine fire in our human understanding, right? We've got to understand our human brain can only compute in as much as what we can compute in the place we're at. So let's take divine fire equals sun. And as Rumi says, there's a sun within each and every person and each and every one of us, not just persons, you know. So we understand that we are all created from the divine light. And when we access that divine light, the sun, melts the bondage, the chains that we've created for ourselves in this hell that we have enslaved ourselves into. Because, and I say that because we have to sit with ourselves so carefully and realize, maybe not in this life, but in a past life, I made choices. And the soul understands one thing, that's karma. It's the ripple effect. Karma is not God's going to smack you because you hurt Susie. No. Karma is your soul understanding cause and effect. So for every negative action or positive action, there's a ripple effect. And it's really, that's where it comes in, reaping what you've sowed. But does that mean it's a punishment? No. That means you can use that to your greatest advantage. So your greatest pains, your greatest sufferings, your greatest humiliations are not there to crush you. They are there to take you to a deeper place of awareness, if you allow them to. So through meditation and through being still with yourself, through putting off the TV, radio, Wi-Fi, whatever it is, and sitting with yourself, being in nature, using your journal, doing the challenges, sitting and doing the introspection, you then get to understand how you have enchained and enslaved yourself. And when those moments of realization go ping, it's like it melts. That's God. The moments of realization are the moments of alchemy. Those are your moments of truth. And the moments of truth, like suddenly you saw someone as an abuser, and then suddenly the next minute you see them as a mirror for how you've been abusing yourself, and you go, oh my God, thank you for showing me what I haven't seen. I now see you as a teacher instead of an abuser. That's a moment of alchemy. And it's not something that just happens here. It happens here. And it's boom. It spreads throughout your body. That's what I'm saying. Think about lead becoming gold. Think about the heaviness of lead suddenly in the fire becomes gold. Think about that in your spirit. That's what happens. So you will know when it happens, and it's not all going to happen once. It's going to happen in moments. But the moment you allow yourself to access or open yourself up to saying, yes, that makes sense, that's the time you allow it to start happening for you. It's like you open the tap. You decide to open your mind. You decide to say, okay, hang on. I've clearly been taught a lot of BS here because nothing's working. So something must be not right. Let me try another way. And you open your mind to trying another way. And then the new way filters through and you get different inspiration to act in another way.
Yeah.
So that's where the alchemy sits.
And I want to answer this question. Asling Danielle said, so Thoth corrupted the plan in the end? He was so trusted, lots followed him. I don't know where you're getting that from. We never said Thoth corrupted any plan. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying, and I would suggest that everybody get your own copy of the Emerald Tablets, because what Thoth is saying in the fourth tablet is that he was able to sit back and observe what had happened with all of us. Thoth is not anybody's leader. That's I think that's where I think that's still where there might be a huge confusion here, because we've been taught to follow the leader. Thoth is just a teacher. He is teaching you about yourself. So he didn't, I don't know where you got the idea that Thoth corrupted a plan. We never said anything about that. What he said was that all of us, yourself including Asling Danielle, you're included in this too, all of us as souls decided as one unit to create the dimensions of consciousness that we call planes of existence in nature, in order for all of our souls to refine itself as one whole unit. So there's no corruption here. That's exactly what Shanti was just saying. When you start to understand this idea of transmutation, and Thoth did not do that. It was all of us as beings collectively who did this in order for us. It's a beautiful thing. I'm sorry if you see that as something bad, but it's not. It's a beautiful, beautiful process of refining yourself. So I just wanted to answer that question. I still am a huge fan of Thoth. There's nothing about any of this work that has been that's been contrary to anything. It's all of the light. It's Thoth being like, you guys hold that power. That's what this story is telling us in the fourth tablet, is that each individual soul on its own, not to mention the collective whole, is so incredibly powerful. You are so powerful. That's what Thoth is saying. Like when you actually, what Shanti was saying, when you actually make the realization, these inner realizations, you are limitless with what you can do and what you can achieve. And that is why, collectively, our souls kind of fragmented to different beings in order for us to understand what separateness feels like. So we know that is what we are not. We are not. And so there's no corruption of the plan. No, Thoth did not corrupt any plan. He can't corrupt any plan because it's your plan. It's not his plan.
He's an extension of it. Yeah, he's an extension or a teacher of it. I would just like to say to Courtney as well, it's not that I'm interrupting. It's really just that we expand on things. So it's like, what BRICE is saying, it's my interpretation of it as well, which also gives different people an understanding of what maybe they will interpret it differently, from just reinterpreting, it's a discussion. Okay. Yes, I understand that Jesse calls a Thoth a demonic general, and that's often been put on this channel as well. So I'm going to want to say it once and for all. There's a light and a dark to everything. Okay. There is a light and a dark to everything. So we've said it a million times. The light creates. Only the light creates. Only God creates. Okay. What Lucifer does is take what God's already created within him and he's turned it upside down, because we know that Lucifer was God's most beautiful angel, so to speak, that embodied everything, that was beauty and harmony and everything. And he pretty much, his job was to turn that upside down and turn it into something very gross and very macabre. And God knows what's been happening. So when teachers like original teachers, for example, like Thoth, or remember the polarization in this planet. Everything is about polarization. So you're going to have, you have a good day and you have a bad day, right? You have yin and yang. We have masculine and feminine, male and female on this planet, love and fear, up and down. There's a polarization to everything. So Thoth energy, and I'm just specifically talking Thoth energy, also has a polarization. Rest assured, Jesus' energy does too. Wait until we start talking about that. But I don't think people could handle that. But what I'm saying is, so they have taken the energy, the essence of Thoth, and corrupted that in a very subtle, manipulative way. They don't do it obviously because they are too clever for that. They're not going to do it that the obvious, it's going to be obvious to our eyes. It's like spell casting, right? And then they take that energy and they veer it off. And only if you know, and if you're in your full discernment, are you going to know the truth, which is why we keep saying to you, do your own research.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Look within, get in alignment with God. You will know what is true. I keep saying that on Jesse's show all the time. You know when it's God's voice and when it's not God's voice. You know. And if you know that.
I want to say too, like, this is not about what I say about Thoth or Shanti says about Thoth or Jesse says about, if we're still living in that world where we're taking someone's word for it, then we're nowhere near ready to ascend. You've got to do your own research. You've got to order this. I'm reading directly from the book, from the Emerald Tablets. It's right here. It's available. You can order it for yourself. So you make your own opinion. If your opinion is made because of somebody else's perception, then you are nowhere near enlightened. You still got a lot of work to do. All right. And yeah, wait until we start talking about, if you go to Billy Carson's channel and look at his research, seems that Thoth was Yeshua's teacher. There is some evidence that Thoth, who was a real person, and I'm going to say too, if you guys get the Emerald Tablets for yourself, he tells you not to worship him. That's in the first tablet. He is not, somebody made him a deity. Yeah. Just like somebody made Yeshua a deity. Yeshua was never a deity. The Council of Nicaea, Constantine, who was an open Satanist, made Yeshua a deity. Right? So somebody else put that label on Thoth. That's called gossip. Right? Thoth himself, from his own words, says, don't worship me. I'm just a teacher. The power lies within you. And that is what we've seen throughout the whole 4 tablets, is Thoth has literally said, I'm using my story as an example, but listen, you hold the power. It's all about you, boo. You hold the power. You can heal yourself. Thoth's not saying that he's going to heal you. He's saying,
that's the whole Christ. That's Christ. That's the Holy Spirit. That is the Holy Spirit, the Christ consciousness energy. And I know people say when we talk about the Christ consciousness energy, it's New Age. It's not. Jesus or Yeshua carried that energy. And he was expressing it in human form and saying to us, through his teachings, follow what I do. Not follow me in every nook and crevice and cranny that I go and be dodgy, but follow the word that I'm teaching and apply that to your life. Jesus didn't have the Bible under his arm. I mean, I'm sure he had teachings and stuff like the way and throwing verses at everyone. He was teaching through example. And that's the whole thing. And that's how he taught us, is how we save ourselves. He came to show us how to save ourselves. And it's through understanding the teachings and applying it to our lives. And then we raise our frequency. And then we transmute our fears. And then we understand what hell for us has been about. That's my opinion. and what that
and
is.
we also, with the inversion of thought too, guys, we have to also remember, and there is a lot of historical evidence to support this. You can do your own research to find this out for yourself. Yeshua, Magdalene, they were not Jewish, they were Egyptian. So of course Thoth would be their teacher. Of course they would be mimicking the teachings, especially if they came in at the fall of Atlantis, which was the apocalypse, then they would have known Thoth, and Thoth would have been one of their teachers. They, of course, that would logically make sense. But look how the controllers, the Luciferians, have inverted that. They stripped the identity of Yahshua and made Yahshua Jewish, so that we could then poo-poo and say all this Egyptian stuff is demonic, when it's actually, in a lot of ways, reversed. Not saying that, obviously, we love our Jewish friends and family, but we know what the controllers do. We know what they come through Abraham. They come through Jacob. So you have to also have a very practical and academic look at this as well in order to see the truth. You have to remove your emotions, because emotions, I mean, speaking of borderline personality disorder, I mean, that's what borderline personality disorder is. It's when a person, I know a lot about that because I have a family member who has that. It's when something happens to us as human beings and we have an emotional response, for most of us, we understand that our emotional response is just our emotional response and maybe not the truth of the situation. Borderline personality disorder, however, feels the emotional response and believes it's the entire truth of the situation. And so, and you think of Madonna's song, Borderline, like that's what that's about. You're pushing me over the borderline, right? So when you hear this information, this academic information about these religious beliefs, you have to almost see your emotional reaction as information and not truth, right? And so if you're triggered by the fact that Thoth was most likely, from all accounts, one of Yeshua's teachers, then you have to look and see where you've been spellcasted, where you've been maybe programmed to believe a certain way, and then investigate that. Why are you responding that way, right? So yeah, I don't, and I want to say too, as well, as Thoth was an actual human being. He was an actual human being that did walk this earth. All of us right now are human beings walking the earth. How would you feel? How would you feel if somebody said you were demonic when you're not? So we have to think about what is it in the Bible that says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you? How would you feel if someone took gossip about you instead of action? And Thoth, it's funny because Thoth talked about this in the third tablet. He said gossip is low vibrational. Don't engage in it. If you want to know, he specifically said, if somebody's saying something bad about someone, go investigate for yourself. Don't listen to what that other person is saying. Investigate for yourself. Right? That's what Thoth is saying to you. But it's interesting that the controllers would turn that and make it maybe perceived to be bad so that you wouldn't go investigate these things, right? And so, and he just said that. He said that only through knowledge comes the ability to rise above. Knowledge is investigation. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Cool.
So, Courtney, calling someone borderline demonic. No, I actually have a family member who tells people she is borderline. So it's not demonic to call someone borderline who actually owns that and says that they are borderline. It's not gossip. That's a family member of mine who actually is open about it. So no, that's not gossip. So don't gaslight. Do not gaslight. That's gaslighting. I actually just said that. My family member is very open about her diagnosis, and I'm not saying her name. So that's why I know so much about it. Because as a family, we have to work to help this person, right, and understand it. So no gaslighting.
But isn't this wonderful? Just when we were speaking about Alice Parola, and having for the past 3 weeks coming on and speaking about her borderline personality disorder, and then you mentioning as well. And I think these are such good topics to bring out. I just think this is incredible that these opportunities arise for us. So no, there's nothing wrong. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
It's just it's like you said, just like saying, "Oh, my grandma died of cancer." Would that be?
Was she possessed by a demon? Yeah. Does that mean she was demonic?
No. So okay. I just really, that's one thing that really drives me crazy, guys. We have to stop the gaslighting. Gaslighting is is twisting information. No, Courtney. Well, but that's what I'm saying, Courtney. If you feel gaslighted if you feel bad about a psychic, well, then you have to look at your own emotions behind that, that's not the actual truth of the matter, right? You have to look at your own reaction to it. In my situation, what I'm talking about with my family member is very open about her diagnosis and is working very hard to correct it and to use it as a catalyst to heal herself. So just like if she had cancer, if my grandmother died of cancer, and there's nothing wrong, there's nothing demonic about someone having cancer. I have arthritis. We all have stuff we're working on, and so we have to be careful not to twist things to fit our narrative. With the thought stuff, I'm reading directly from the material, and then we're discussing it, right? And so I just want people to be very careful about that. Like, we have to be very careful about listening to gossip and hearsay and then trying to twist a story to fit our narrative. That's not a healthy minded person. Like, we need to understand our own attachments, our own resistance, our own stuff before we lash out at others. That's projection, right? And so that's what and it's so funny this is all coming up, because that's literally what this is about right now. This is literally what Thoth is saying. And so for me, I just want everybody to, regardless of what your preconceived notions are of Thoth, those are your preconceived notions that have been told to you by somebody else. Why don't you trust yourself and order it for yourself? And actually, you don't even have to order it. You can look online and see the PDF online for free to read this, and then make your own mind up. I like having Doriel's copy because I like the commentary, and I like looking at multiple commentaries because I like seeing what multiple people say about that. And so we just have to start owning our own information, right? That's one thing. And I say that people ask me all the time, like, how do you research? Well, most of us think research is memorizing and regurgitation. That's not research. That's memorizing and regurgitating. Research is looking at so many different sources of information and then using your critical thinking skills to understand what's actually being said.
Connecting the dots, right? It's really kind of not just taking one source. You kind of look at this, you look at that, you connect the dots, you wait a while, a little bit is missing there, you dig a bit there, oh, something comes up there, oh, that fits there, so and really it is about for me, it's about a game of connecting the dots, because I think and it's like that feeling of, yeah, that's it. This is it.
Yeah. In my gut, in Bryce's gut, I think Thoth was a genius. I think he's amazing, and I don't worship him as a god. No, he's a teacher. He tells you not to worship him as a god. If other people are worshiping him as a god, that's their problem. That's a them problem.
This is all, and I want to say this because what we're talking here, and it's just suddenly dawned on me, is we were talking a little bit about that whole gateway experiment of the subtle human mind control. Because for me, this Thoth's teachings, and I have no evidence of this, and I would actually love to, I must actually make a note to check that out. Because Thoth's teachings could be, again, the subtlety of the purity of the teachings, and what he's truly saying, again, used in that way, absolutely distorting that information and giving it incorrectly in a more distorted way. That's, it's like the spell casting stuff. It's distorting all of that. Creates like a haze.
But is that, that's what I want to ask, is that Thoth's fault that somebody twisted his teachings? No. It's not.
No. It's the way that the world is, it's the way that Earth is. We're in a planet of polarity. We've come here choosing to experience the polarization. We've come here choosing to experience the illusion of separation. We've come here choosing to experience what it feels like to be in some God-forsaken place, far away from home. Meanwhile, we're right at home because we're here, but we've had to go through those experiences in our human form. That's what being human is about. That's the experience. So we're all here by choice. And when we realize that, and then we can just stop fighting.
And that's what he's saying. That's exactly what he's literally saying. This is a living example of what Thoth is saying in this book, is like, listen to how I figured it out, And so that's all he's saying. And so I really, just anybody who's worshiping Thoth, that's not Thoth's fault. He in fact, in the very first tablet, he's told you not to worship him.
It's the Luciferians. It's really, you know, they have to do everything in a step by step way. They have to do it that way because that gives them that boom, boom, boom. It's like that militaristic way of doing things. I mean, Satan and his generals, hello, military. Okay, so there's that way. We got to flip it upside down and go, okay, they've given us a great structure in which to understand things more clearly. Now let's just flip the information around and let it flow differently. So instead of that, of understanding that God says he's a God and you got to worship him and you got to kill this and do that, there's none of that. If you ask to harm anything or anyone or do any harm whatsoever without the highest, I mean, if you're needing to end a relationship or a marriage, of course the partner might get hurt but that's understanding. You're setting yourself free from a toxic situation, and there's a higher purpose for both concern, and to do it in a very respectful way, for example, right? But so there's ways of doing things, and it's about turning that around. And so many of these things are so subtle, and at this time when the storm is all around us, we have to especially go deep within and realize what the truth really is. A lot of people need to connect those little wires. You know, it's like wires plugging in. There's a little wires dangling in people. They've just got to click into that, and then it's like that energy activates within. And no, it's not AI. Anyone is thinking AI. It is absolute your own energy. You as a person become more intelligent. So it doesn't mean you've got to read more books now. It means you know more, you feel more, you're more connected, you're more in tune, you're less stressed, you're more confident, you got better health, you feel lighter, you feel younger. I don't know, whatever it is, you know, you just all the good stuff.
It's not AI, it's I to the power of 2. Intuitional intelligence.
Yeah. We
when we look at even the stuff we talk about with Yahshua, like, is it Yahshua's fault that the church is satanic? No. Right? No, it's the same thing. The church is satanic. That's what church means. But that's not Yahshua's fault. So people that are inverting Thoth's teaching, it's the same thing. So we can't give a pass to one teaching and not another one. We can't honor that the same way. And so, anyway, I think I blopped out there a little bit, but I think I came back.
Okay,
that's cool. Oh, good. Courtney's actually just saying that I think maybe there was a bit of a misunderstanding, but that's fine. It's all good. I understand what you're saying. So let's carry on and move on to whatever, you know.
I actually want to continue with some of Dorell's commentary, because talking about he actually is going to talk about the solar plexus, which we know is the third chakra, which is the sun. So let me go ahead and read some more of Dorell's commentary before we go back to Thoth. He says, as space ordered and follows law, so man must also cause order to arise within his own being. When this order and harmony of all parts of his being is perfect, then he no longer is bound to the material plane. And rising through his harmony with law, he can ascend to the cosmic plane. In freeing the consciousness from the body, it is best to expand the solar plexus, the flower of life of the body. Because remember, Thoth had talked about the flower of life in the halls of Aminte, which are under the earth, which could be a med bed, could be another, but there's actually that same med bed is actually in your solar plexus, he's saying here. And send the life force flooding through it so that the body is vitalized in preparation for the consciousness to leave. Otherwise, the consciousness is reluctant to leave. So it's that whole thing about being like excited about death, because all of a sudden you realize your fullness is. My grandfather had a near-death experience, and I've told it before. When he was in his 40s, he had a heart attack. He rose above his body. He heard them talking, walked into a light, spoke to a man. He didn't want to leave. He told the guy that he said it was Yahshua, Jesus, but he said, I don't want, Marianne's got this. I don't want to go back to Earth. This is great up here. And he never feared death after that. He never feared death because he knew that it was actually at his sister's funeral before he finally died for the final time. At his sister, my great aunt Jane's funeral, my granddad in his wheelchair was having a grand old time, and everybody was all crying. And my granddad was like, "Jane's fine. She's totally fine. She's in a, so that's that understanding that this life isn't the end all be all. We are so much bigger than this one experience that we're in this one Shakti of the soul. It's a beautiful Shakti, but it's just one chapter of a full existence. And that's why, again, going back to the beginning of what Thoth realized, that's why we as the greater whole created these obstacles. It's like when you, here in the United States, I'm sure they do this in multiple countries, we have these field days for children, field days where they have obstacle courses they run. It's like, and it's all in fun and kids get to like do things. And it's almost like as souls, we sat down and created like a field day, an obstacle course for all of us to run through so that we can refine ourselves and relearn these things about ourselves. So he says, then comes the shutting off of the outside sensory imprisonments, which should be precluded by a short fast. So we're going to actually talk about fasting and stuff too, things you can do to cut off sensory. And that's why, like in traditional yoga, we never play music in our yoga classes because we are not allowed to play any music because that music entices the senses. Whereas in the practice, we're trying to get you to hone in on your senses so you can have your experience. After the silence induced by the will is complete, the consciousness should not be centered in the pineal. The consciousness should be centered in the pineal, and the image, thought, or picture of the place you desire to go to should be formed. Then the intense effort of will directed to the proper curves, and you are released from the body. So you have the power to direct your soul. You have that power to direct your soul. You have that power to be the master of your life. You know, that's what he's saying here. He figured that out because you already designed it anyway. Like, plot twist, you're not here by chance. You're not here by accident. I always laugh and say my GPS got lost going to Venus, but that's a joke. Like, we're here on purpose. Like, we came here. I say that to my yoga classes every morning. Like when I teach, like, you came here on purpose this morning. Lean into the fire. There's power there's power in that decision to say, I'm doing this on purpose. I'm getting, in the simplest of work, I'm getting up every morning and hitting my yoga mat on purpose. There's power there. No one's forcing you. You're doing it yourself. You came here to experience this life on purpose to refine your soul. Now we'll go back to what Thoth is saying. Yeah. Long time I paused, watching their wisdom. So he's watching, as he's observing what happened, he's watching the wisdom of our higher selves creating this thing called Earth or Venus or Mars or wherever you're living. Saw them create from out of the ether cities gigantic of rose and gold, formed forth from the primal element, base of all matter, the ether far flung. Far in the past they had conquered the ether, freed themselves from the bondage of toil, formed in their mind only a picture, and swiftly created it grew. So he's watching, he's calling us wise. We had conquered the ether, and then we decided, wait a minute, we're going to create this and go back into it so that we refine ourselves. Forth then my soul sped throughout the cosmos, seeing ever new things and old, learning that man is truly space-born, a son of a sun, a child of the stars. Know ye, O man, that whatever from ye inhibited, surely it is one with the stars. Thy bodies are nothing but planets, revolving around their own central sun, the solar plexus. It goes back to that story of Govinda, Krishna, where he was a child. He was called Govinda, and he was eating dirt, and his mother came and cleaned out his mouth and saw all of the cosmos, all of the stars inside of him. As above, so below. When ye have gained the light of all wisdom, free shall ye be to shine in the ethers, one of the suns that light outer darkness, one of the space-born grown into light, just as the stars in time lose their brilliance, light passing from them into the great source. So ye, O man, thy soul passes onward, leaving behind the darkness of night. Formed forth ye from the primal ether, filled with brilliance that flows from the source. Y'all hear that? In the back, y'all hear that? Let me read that again. Formed forth ye from the primal ether. Ether is spoken about heavily in the Tartarian documentary, right? Ether, filled with the brilliance that flows from the source. Formed forth ye from primal ether, filled with the brilliance that flows from the source. What is that saying? Everything we've all been saying. The Holy Spirit, the Holy Shekinah, that fire, it's always been a part of you. It can't not be a part of you. There's no scenario where it can't be a part of you. That's why you're alive, is because of that holy fire. That it's like Shanti says, the sun with the rays. You are coming straight from the source. You are a part, you are a fractal of that source. He's saying that right here. Do you not, he's saying like, listen, bro, listen, boo. Do you not know how badass you are? That's what you've forgotten. That's where your bondage comes from. It's because you think you're a slave to these circumstances when you actually created these circumstances to understand that you are not these circumstances, to find that resistance, that friction, to understand where your soul, what your soul actually is. You can't kill a soul. You are from the source. That's what he's saying. How beautiful is that? Okay, so let me read that one more time because it's the beginning of the verse. Formed forth ye from the primal ether, filled with the brilliance that flows from the source, bound by ether coalescing around, yet ever in flames until at last it is free. Lift up your flame from the darkness, fly from the night, and ye shall be free. Easy as that, right? You don't want to be in darkness anymore? You got to lift it up. That's what Shanti says, lift up that vibration. And you will be free because you are of source. No one can take that away from you.
And you will be free when you decide to look within. And that's the beginning of the process, because people say, well, how do I raise my vibration? Okay. So you start by raising your vibration by sitting with yourself, your wounded self, your hateful self, your ugly self, your gross self, your fat self, your pimply self, whatever self you are abhorring, because we all have a self inside of us that we don't like, and we might even feel like we're living that self, because that's why we keep running away. You're going to find the most beautiful men and women that go under the knife and look so cosmetically beautiful that just cannot hide, cannot show a line on the face, because really the face is about emotions, right? So all those emotions are just hidden away under that smooth face type thing. So it really is about understanding that it starts with taking the time to decide you want change. When you are so sick and tired of being sick and tired, the only place to go to is yourself and God. And you decide to take those moments in the morning and do your stuff and do the inner reflection and find someone who can work with you. That's when it begins. And that's when the doors open for everything else wonderful to start coming in. It's not difficult. Oops, there BRICE goes. Yeah, I think she's been off for a few minutes. It's really not that difficult. And I think, this is where we were even talking earlier on, Morné, where it's so important, like at this stage, there's so much alchemy at the moment that is going on, spiritual alchemy, where people are being forced to meet. Energies are speeding up hugely. People's lives are becoming very, very chaotic if they are not, and health. I mean, look at with the zippities do. Look at how many people are sadly exiting, and the trauma, the pain that is for the people left behind, dealing with those emotions and going through this difficult time with those heavy emotions as well. It's crazy. So we have to take the time to sit still and not just be with yourself. Go for a swim in the sea if you're lucky enough. Go for a walk in the forest, or around the block, or up and down the street to the shop. I don't know, whatever your situation allows. Get out. Just get out of that space of just being contained within what you think is right. It's so important to be able to just realize that if you are in misery, the bottom line is you are attracting that misery. And it's not a punishment. I'm not saying that as well, you did it. No, not at all. We're learning how to work with our energies. Let's remember that. We're all students. We're learning how to be humans in physical form. This is not very comfortable for most of us. Think about a poor baby and how helpless it is for the first 2 years of its life, especially, right? It's not comfortable. So it's learning how to work with our frequencies, learning how to create, learning how to be, learning how to enjoy, learning how to have this heavy meat suit experience, and at the same time, letting it be exhilarating and brilliant and light and fun and joyful. And the only way we do that is by checking in with the lead and transmuting it and turning it back into creative life force, because that really then will give you the understanding of why stuff went down. And I know that sounds impossible for a lot of people, but I promise you it does.
You said it brilliantly. I mean, for a lot of people, when they say raise your vibration, it's almost like think positive. And that same sense that it's like avoid everything negative. And that's not how you raise your vibration. It's like you said, you have to go.
It's that toxic positivity.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Yeah. And I love, like you said, like when you're a baby, when you're still learning to walk, it's uncomfortable. But what does a baby do? It goes for it. It wants to walk. And then it raises its vibration. So the best way to raise your vibration is to go into those things. And like you said, if you need a break, go into nature. Go connect with God. I mean, even if you go to God, God will tell you, you're the one that needs to do it. It's not, God can't raise your vibration for you. You just have to ask and align yourself, with God, in order to do that. So
the decision, right? It starts with the decision. You know, we always talk about the importance of decision. And I know we're just about out of time, and I'm not sure BRICE will be coming back.
BRICE, she's gone.
Yeah, I want to just say that, you know, it starts with a decision. It's the decision to realize that your situation and your circumstances around you are your creation. And that for a lot of people is very difficult to understand, because a lot of people don't get that, why would I create this? How did I create my whatever it is? Doesn't matter what it is. Just know that you are the creator of your reality in this body, in this life. And if you don't like what you are creating, you see, that's the first step, is to take responsibility. Maybe the Christian people will call it repenting. For me, I say acknowledge that you need to change. Acknowledge that you need to take responsibility. If you're an alcoholic with a wife and 3 children, and you're about to lose your entire family and your job and everything, acknowledge you need help. Acknowledge what you want. Acknowledge it, and then decide to take action. The decision, the acknowledgement of it, and then the decision on what you're going to do about it. Okay, I want to go to rehab. So then the next step would be, okay, there's 5 rehabs in my area. Let's see which one is available. And so it works itself out. It's a step-by-step process. But we have to start with acknowledging that we choose healing and we choose change. And then once we've acknowledged that, decide that you want that. And once you've decided you want to take action to balance whatever imbalances are in you, then the doors start opening. You'll find the people, read the book, read a blog, watch a podcast. That'll be, you know, one of the first things you start doing. Journal, start writing. Amazing. So I think, unless you have anything to add to that, Morné, it looks like we are.
You said it beautifully.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then I think that's we'll call it a day for today. Oh, and we have our channel update. We're starting a weekly channel update tomorrow, just a 10-minute update, just with little things, what's happening. I think it's the same time, right? 4 o'clock, the same time that we start the show. Yeah. So tune in for that. We're going to just be letting you know what's happening here, odds and sods happening on our continent as well. And look forward to just catching up with you guys then. Cool. God bless you all. Thanks, Morné. Bye, Bryce. And thank you very much to everyone who's joined us on our chat today. Courtney, it seems that there was an issue with you, and a misunderstanding rather with you and Bryce. So we apologize for that, but it's how we work through these things anyway, right? So take good care, everybody. God bless you. See you next time.
Cheers.